All right. Hey, Bubba, welcome to our little backyard baseball podcast.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, today we're going to be diving into the heart of baseball, pitches that make the game what it is today. I know you've been a fan of the sport for a really long time. How many years?
Well, since I was a kid starting in the Little League, I was always a baseball fan and loved the game, and it's longer than I'd like to tell you.
Had a great history, and that's what we're going to be diving into today, the history of baseball pitches. Our guiding question today is, how did pitching go from a friendly allied underhand toss to the elite competition between the pitcher and hitter in the modern era?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, we're still calling it pitching, and yet, and it's really throwing now. And so I'm interested in hearing a little about the history.
We'll hit some key areas like the slider's game-changing break, the splitter's sneaky drop, and the fastball's mythical rise. This is all backed by some great reads like Tyler Kepner's book K, A History of Baseball in 10 Pitches, and John Thorne's deep dive into pitching's revolution. Are you ready to step up to the plate?
Hey, I'm the first batter up here. Let's go.
All right, let's get into it. Picture this. It's the mid-1800s. Baseball is just getting started and becoming a prominent sport. Pitchers aren't firing rockets. They're pitching the ball underhand, nice and gentle, lobbing it like a softball to help the hitter. As John Thorne writes in his 2014 blog post, Pitching, an Evolution and Revolution, the pitcher wasn't an adversary yet. It was an ally for the batter, all about getting the ball in play.
Yeah, which is almost the antithesis now. Is putting the ball in play is fine, but getting outs was really what it's all about.
Things heated up in 1958 with a young phenom named Jim Crichton. Thorne tells us that Crichton added a sneaky wrist snap to his underhand delivery, making the ball spin and dip faster.
And I assume that's where all those curves and sliders are coming from.
Yeah, exactly right. It was the first unhittable pitch. It led baseball's first shutout in 1960. Throwing overhand wasn't fully allowed till 1884, and when it was allowed, it sparked a whole new revolution in pitching mechanics.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way the game's evolved, particularly in the last 100 years.
Thorne sums it up. Pitching shifted from a gentle alliance to an adversarial art, birthing spins like drop, rise, and even the screwball. As Kepner writes in his 2019 book, baseball's story is told through these pitches, each one an innovation that elevated pitchers or saved careers.
Yeah, and I think batters, on the other hand, had to evolve to that adversarial position of just the way of trying to get him out, as opposed to putting the ball in play and trying to get him out.
Yeah, 100%. The first segment that I want to talk about is the slider. It's a pitch that changed everything about the sport. When we fast forward to the early 20th century, that's where the slider sort of entered the game. This pitch bridged speed and movement, making it a really tough pitch to square up and get hard contact with.
Yeah, it's not something that I was familiar with as a pitch, basically evolving as I was a young player, just trying to catch up to it.
In Sport Trace's 2025 article, The Slider, a pitch that changed the game, it originated back in 30s and 40s, popularized by George Bayholder and Hall of Famers like Bob Feller.
Yeah, Bob Feller, I can remember him growing up as a child. A lot of our Little League teams were named after famous players like Bob.
That's definitely some interesting knowledge from back then. That's not how things are run in Little League now. The slider is all in the grip. A pitcher used to hold just a fastball like this, and the slider was slightly offset, creating a sort of side spin, resulting in the ball's drop down.
Yeah, it's really got to be difficult to hit, combining both speed and spin on the ball that's changing the trajectory.
Yeah, for sure. I know I certainly utilized that pitch. Hall of Famer Steve Carlton said, "Slider was my out pitch. It broke so deceptively, it dominated games. It shifted strategies entirely, making pitchers predators rather than just throwers."
I can remember watching Carlton and so forth, and just putting people away. And really didn't have an appreciation for the movement that it had, but it's very subtle, and they'd be swinging over it all the time.
For sure, that definitely seems to be the finesse of the pitch. And speaking of finesse, we're moving on to our third segment of the splitter and the changeup off-speed pitches.
Yeah, off speeds are a little more familiar with. I was a dead pull hitter as a player. I used to call it that because I'd be out in front of the ball. I could turn on it quickly, but I was very susceptible to that off-speed pitch because obviously I'd be out in front of it on the swing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. These pitches ditch raw velocity for cutting drop. So the splitter and the changeup obviously drop down and in. Some splitters even drop away from right-handed batters. Their popularity sort of became more prominent in the 70s and 80s. The splitter exploded with Bruce Sutter. Is that his name?
Yeah, Suter.
I read an article from Plate Crate 2025. How does a splitter move? It broke it down. When you grip the ball wider like this between your fingers, it cuts spin and increases gravity's effect on the ball.
Sure, and it probably drops out that much quicker, or it could be more susceptible to even wind and so forth. The conditions on the field that'll move the ball around.
Exactly. Sutter used it for saves and strikeouts. He used it when his career was possibly coming to an end for less stress on his arm, throwing those wicked heaters. And it racked up tons of whiffs, weak grounders, and it leveled the playing field for pitchers like him who were going towards the end of their career and their arms were getting tired. Finesse was clearly something that became more popular.
Yeah, no question, and it extended a lot of pitchers' careers by doing that because, as you said, over time, they can't maintain the velocity by throwing a fastball or throwing it by people or spotting the ball. Putting motion on the ball and can be very effective in combination at lower speeds, throwing in the 80s versus the 90s.
Exactly. And obviously, we can't wrap it up without the king, the fastball. It's baseball's foundation. It's been so for 100-plus years. It's evolved from early power arms to today's deceptive heaters. But did you ever hear of the rising fastball?
I have, and I always thought that was a bit of an optical illusion that's taking place, defying gravity.
That's what I thought too. I mean, legends like Bob Gibson swore by it. He thought that the seams created lift. Turns out that's mostly a myth. It's an optical illusion from the velocity of the pitch. As Chad Jennings, Eero Saris, and Lindsay Alder did a study, they explained that teams started teaching induced vertical break, which is a science that debunked the rising fastball that had persisted through the game for decades.
Yeah, and I think there's some interesting science behind it. But the bottom line is, if it looks like it looks like it's rising to the hitter coming in it so fast, he's not catching up to it, and he's swinging under it, and so it can become very effective in combination with other pitches.
Exactly. Kepner interviews Nolan Ryan in his book, who says the fastball has a life. It's a pitch that sets everything up.
It really does, especially with it's intimidating. You're trying to catch up to it and react quickly. You have to react quickly to that fastball, and then changing speeds and locations, especially, and then creating movement on the. It's a wonder anybody can hit the ball sometimes against people like Nolan Ryan.
Exactly. So back to our guiding question. Pitching evolved from underhand lobs to a battle of wits through constant adaptation.
It really is. I mean, hitters nowadays have to try to anticipate the pitch sequence, and they have to sort of they're looking for a certain pitch or things like that as a way of being getting an advantage on the pitcher, and that can be a real mental challenge as well as a physical one.
Definitely. From Crichton's wrist snap to the slider's break and the splitter's drop, and even the fastball's perceived rise, each innovation repitched the hitter-pitcher showdown. As Kepner puts it, these pitches tell baseball's story, elevating the game one deceptive delivery at a time.
It really does, and it raises the game at both levels, both for hitters and pitchers and the players in the field. They have to anticipate some of these pitches because that's going to dictate a lot of times where the ball goes in the field and they know that from working with their pitchers and so forth, what they should expect, grounders or hitting to the left side or right side, etc., just by virtue of the pitch being thrown.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining me, and thanks to the listeners for tuning in. Until next time, keep swinging.
I really enjoy it, Sam, and I look forward to watching the next game with you.